welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and today we're going to take a look at the GI Joe Classified Torpedo. And I gotta say, I absolutely loved Torpedo growing up. So we're going to look at Torpedo, we're going to look and see how he is, and we're also going to compare him to the O-Ring, the original, complete, not my original that I had as a kid, not like that rock and roll that's somewhere in this house that I still can't find, and it's still driving me absolutely nuts. But we're going to take a look at this, and hopefully the plastic on this is just as good as scrap iron and rock and roll. I've heard good things. We're actually going to find out. So anyway, let's take a look at this. And I mentioned before, still the plastic-free packaging. We're going to be getting the windows back, but if you got to do plastic-free packaging, this is how you do it. The GI Joe team is doing it right. Little Easter eggs. Here you have these water snakes in the back. He's on a submarine. He's obviously, I would say, he's infiltrating this Cobra sub because, as we've seen, the eels are now also on one. Here's all his accessories. You look at the artwork. I think it looks awesome. There's your figure. There it is on the side. It's number 73. Then here we have the file card, which I mentioned on the last video. It's pretty much useless. Beast Battleground talks about it. It just takes you right to the Hasbro site, not even the GI Joe site, because Hasbro doesn't even care to have their own GI Joe site for their own property where all the money goes in their pocket. They got to be saving themselves at least, what, 110 bucks from GoDaddy? There's the back of the box that gives you the figure. I mentioned before, I do like the size here of the actual figure. I know people have said, hey, what does it matter? You can measure yourself. It just tells you how big they are compared to another figure. Here's everything that he comes with. Here's what he looks like. So we're going to go through it. Again, let's open this up. I'm going to compare him to the O-Ring and see how much they took an homage of this and just upscaled him and made him a little bit bigger. So before we get started, if you do like the content, take a second, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time that I drop a GI Joe video. And as you know, I do drop an absolute lot of them. And if you hear that clanging, well, let's just roam it. And if you don't know who Roman is, you need to jump in on Monday night Toy Ramblings at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and you'll hear this guy right here. You know what? Before we get started, come up here, buddy. Say hi to everyone. Look at this Roman. Whoa, Roman, I love you too. Anyway, enough of this. Enough of Roman. Don't get me wrong. Seeing Roman is better than me, but let's get into this figure. Alright, figure is out of the box. Dog has been let out. Now he's just sitting in the back. We'll see if he makes any noise. Alright, so here's our box. We don't need to look at this right now. As I mentioned before, here's how the figure comes. He's inside of this. And again, wonderful artwork. I love what they're doing. And again, if you have to do plastic packaging, the GI Joe team seemed to have done it the right way. But unfortunately, it's going away. I can't say unfortunately because I do want to see the figure. And here's your little locker. And they have made modifications. It no longer has like the digital touchpad. Again, it makes no sense. It has this big handle that's too big for a human hand, and too small for a human hand, way too big for a classified hand, and huge for an O-Ring hand. And as Beast Battleground constantly points out, here it is, 73. It says Torpedo, but now it's upside down. So again, nice idea, but poorly executed. This should be a locker. That's what they should make it look like, an actual locker standing up. All right. So as you can see, we got our O-Ring figure right next to it. We will compare them, see how much they look. And look at that. I mean, right away, you can just look at this. And yes, we've seen so many of these, and this thing is just completely bent right out of the box. You know, we were told by Lenny, it was one of the things they said, is that all the weapons would come with cardboard to keep everything nice and straight. That's how the stuff started, but clearly Hasbro thought that was way too much money. They need to save it, and so this is what we're getting. And again, this thing is, honestly, it's actually more sturdy. I mean, it's flimsy. It's actually a little bit harder than I thought. So you're going to have to heat this up, straighten it out, and then make it cold again. This is really soft, so you're going to have to heat it up, straighten it out, just hot water, and then cool it down. But as I mentioned before, we shouldn't have to do this. $25 or not, this is not how something should be. So, very disappointed. I knew it was going to be like that, but you can just see it right away. So I have to go and fix this, which I think is total BS. But let's look at the design of it. It is a harpoon gun, I believe. Maybe it's called something else. But you have the harpoon right there. Obviously on this here, whatever it's going to shoot to, it looks like it's going to be where he can either pull it in or he can pull whatever he wants out. They put some paint apps here, so this is actually going to hold on to it. So once again, everything should be able to hold onto the person, so they can carry everything in some way. Then here's his oxygen tank. There we go. So here on the bottom, I believe this is for the harpoon gun. So they can also snap in like that, I do believe. The peg is up here. It's meant so it actually goes around. We'll mess around with that, but it actually forms around his back. I would say it looks like the oxygen tank is actually put on here, so now it just kind of sits on it rather than be two-toned and as painted. So somehow this is glued onto it. I think it looks really nice. It's something different. It does not look like what his actual backpack is, and I'm fine with that. I don't need everything to be the exact same. Here are the flippers, and they do have a nice red, and not, just the black, the red paint in the middle, so it does look nice. And they are coated on the bottom. So this one is the right, and that one is the left. So glad that they were able to get everything everything together. What I mean by that is that they were able to give me the right stuff, not just 2 right feet or 2 left. Here's the knife, which he definitely does need. Again, bent like almost every single one of the weapons. So disappointing. Handle is pointed red, so it does look nice. It's going to fit in the sheath. I do like the way that looks. Here's the oxygen mask, which I absolutely love the way that it looks. So you have the goggles, which are painted, so they're not going to be clear, which I think I'll be fine with. Got some red paint up here where the oxygen is going to go in for the rebreather. It just goes around his head. And this is going to clip into the backpack right here, the same way the Cobra Eels did. And then we have his submachine gun, which is pretty straight. Looks like there's maybe a slight bend. Something like this I'm okay with. I'm not going to fight and get mad about it. So there's the magazine. Now, it looks like what they've changed about their magazines is rather than try and make it so it looks like it's a really long magazine, they shorten the stem here, so that is actually what goes inside of it. That way it actually helps the mag well, where it's not sliding all up, and they either make the mag smaller or the wheel well small, or the mag well smaller, and it doesn't fit. So that pops in there really nicely. It looks like some sort of submachine gun. I do like it. I would have liked to have maybe had a suppressor on it, but I do like this because it's going to get in small quarters pretty easily. There's no paint apps on it. It's just black, which is perfectly fine because you probably figure they're going in on some sort of night mission. You don't want some real bright colors. All right. So let's take a look at our figure here. Now, I know I've heard people complain that have seen, well, not that have seen, but some people have made some complaints before they got to see the figure, saying that the figure is ugly. He does have a big nose, but I'm okay because it's real world. People are different all the time. I had also seen where there was some paint rub, but I'm looking at this figure, and I think everything looks really nice. There is no paint from the wetsuit onto his face. I know Bobby B had mentioned that it seems a little, like his head's maybe a little bit big. To me, it just kind of seems like it's a tight fit around his head, and that's just the shape of his head. Looking at the eyes, I think that looks good paint looks really nice on this. I think this face sculpt is really nice. I would love to see a Navy SEAL version of this with his face, you know, obviously without the wetsuit. I think that would look awesome. So here you go. It's got a quick overlay here. That's what's actually going to be holding on the oxygen tank. It's got a couple pouches up here. He's just got the black. He does his T-pose. Nice and easy. They feel nice and tight. That's what she said. Let's see here. Wrist move back and forth. Completely pinless, which is how it should be. Now it does have the butterfly joints. How do they cross over? That's a whole other story. Considering he does not have any type of armor, he should have maybe a better. But I wish the Hasbro team, the GI Joe team, would maybe cut a little bit more. If you're going to do the butterfly joint, might as well make it so you can get over all the way. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now this is a nice body. There's the lower leg, the drop down hip, the ab crunch. Now I didn't heat him up at all. You got your thigh swivel. Everything is really smooth and the figure feels nice and tight. Nothing seems gummy. I am extremely happy with this. I don't know what happened with the bat figure. They must have used a different factory or a completely different plastic. So I am happy just in general looking at this figure. So let's grab our torpedo. So there's his harpoon gun. And you can kind of compare it here. And it's pretty much the same thing. It's a regular torpedo, a regular harpoon gun. The stock is pretty much the same. But I'm glad that they gave this to him. Again, I just hate that this is completely soft. Then they did give him the band or the rope. So when he does shoot it, he's going to be able to keep it. As for the oxygen tank, well, you can see it's completely different. It's not even close to being the same. And again, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't need a complete remake of the exact same figure. This is what really made this guy kind of stand out, though, because it was different. But again, I'm not upset about it. And then the flippers are gray, so we'll just pop these off quickly. So looking at this figure, clearly this suit is going to be used for the eels. This is more like a Marvel Legends figure. When you think about it, it's going to be used for wetsuit, it's used for the eels, and who knows how many, who else. So they give him this overlay here, which you have he actually has 4 pockets up here, 4 little pieces. He only has 2 here, and then he has another piece over here. I'm not really sure what that is. You have the gray that runs down. Now he does have the 2 pockets, but they made his belt black with his pockets gray. The legs here are the same. And even the side there, they gave him exactly what he has on the original. All the way down. Now, again, the things you don't see is an O-ring. It zips up right here. He does not have the zip up here, but he does have the gray feet. And on the side here, there is the knife. And they have the sheath for the knife right there. And the same thing, the way that it runs up. The back you can see is the same, other than the piece here that's made to hold on. So I like that. I think it's really cool. It's a nice detail. Looking here. So this just zips up here for the wetsuit. I gotta say, just these things that I never noticed before. This is one of the things I love about doing these reviews and comparing the classifieds. Sometimes you're seeing things you didn't know. So on him here, he has everything that's gonna make sure he can monitor probably his oxygen, how far he needs to go, how deep he is, everything like that. Little detail like that, it just goes a long way. I mean, it really, really does. So, take his knife, throw it in the sheath, kind of sits up there pretty nicely. I have a problem with that. Now let's throw the mask on him. And that mask fits really nice. So I doubt that it's going to fit anyone else. Push this up here. Pop that bad boy on there. And hopefully these things will stay in place. They're actually really loose. So, no, they actually fit nice. So this is pretty pliable. If you take it off, so you can take it off and hang it just back here. No problem at all there. Now if we throw the mask on them, and then we compare the two. So he doesn't have goggles, so you have the clear well, it would be considered clear goggles. So everything's going to be completely different once he has the mask on compared to the original. Again, I'm perfectly fine with that because this is going to be an old style, and this is how actually would probably make more sense. And also, when they want to do a retro version, they can do that. Let's check out what foot this is. So this is the left. So this just slides in here. Then you're going to cup the heel. And they left the hole also, if you have it pegged into something, let's say maybe they do a devilfish, you can clip them right on the side. But this is going to work for the eels, again, for wetsuit, when wetsuit comes on. And honestly, they stay on pretty good. So, no issues there. We got this. Let's see if we can just kind of throw this on here. So that goes all the way back, nice and easy, up onto the shoulder. It does feel like you got to stretch it a little bit. I can definitely see how that might break. And then you have the submachine gun, which maybe this is what, can you clip that on? I don't think you can clip this on. I think this is meant to clip on to that. But let's be honest, he needs to have this because I don't have any sharks for him to fight. So there you go. This figure does feel really, really good though. There is no doubt about that. I am extremely happy with how he feels. So far, all three figures that I've opened about this wave are top notch, how they should be. So there we go. Let's wrap this up. There he is compared to my OG Torpedo, who only had a harpoon, harpoon gun. But he had like little jets too, little rockets. I always assumed this was like for propulsion, but now they kind of look like they're little rockets. Who knows? It was GI Joe. It was the 80s, and they started doing some crazy stuff, didn't they? But again, I like this figure, and you know, I'll have to go a little bit more into it maybe, see what size the peg is for the head, see if other heads work on it. So if you want to create other figures coming out of the water that have a similar body, let's say someone like Stalker, like really couldn't use Rock and Roll, can't use Roadblock or Gung Ho, they're just too big. Falcon, no one wants to use the Falcon head. Flint maybe. So anyway, let's wrap this up. Hope you enjoyed this here. Alright, so there you have it. This is the Torpedo GI Joe Classified. I really do like this figure. I like the way the plastic feels. It is, it's what it should be. Now, I'm not happy with all the accessories. They're still bent. Hasbro, you need to fix that. Again, GI Joe, you're doing very well. But I know this is not a GI Joe thing. This is a Hasbro issue. And it's something they really need to take care of. I like the flippers being pliable. That's good. I don't mind the leash being pliable. But this here, this is just unacceptable. They need to fix stuff like this. So looking at this figure, you know, again, he has a smaller footprint because he has a bodysuit on. So he's more like a Marvel Legend, to be honest. And they said this is the first real bodysuit that they're doing. I don't know how many they're going to have to do. You know, you have the EOS, Torpedo, you know, wetsuit. But I like it. And in all honesty, if I was the Hasbro team, I'd be like, hey, can we Wait, can we use some of that maybe? Can we use that body, that buck just a little bit? But anyway, I like this figure. I hope there are more, because I want to figure out a way to do a whole water scene. Excuse you, you just went out. I know, this guy, he just thinks he runs this place. But again, if you're watching on Monday Night Toy Ramblings, you know exactly how much he likes being the spotlight. So anyway, I like this figure, $25. I think he does come with a bunch of accessories. I do like the submachine gun. He definitely needed one, not just a harpoon gun. This gives you time, Hasbro, maybe go in and give someone else that only has a harpoon gun a submachine gun too. But if he doesn't, Deals don't, then I don't care, because they got all kinds of machine guns or submachine guns. All kinds of weapons I'm going to use. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. But before you leave, take a second, jump on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, a Punk with Toys Facebook group page, Punks with Toys, because once you join, you're a punk with toys. And last but not least, take a second. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Always hit the like button for any content creators that you like. It tells YouTube, the algorithm, people like this. Let's push it out. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because I still got more GI Joe Classified coming up. Matter of fact, they're all coming up. But don't go anywhere. If you like this content, here's Scrap Iron, and here's a playlist of all the classified figures I've done.